Hotep, I am that I am. Some call me Heru, your modern monk, your cannabis fitness strategist. Back at it again, here for you with episode 5-6, Checks and Balances. Yes, episode 5-6, Checks and Balances. We're going to take it back to the old school, take you back and do an old reflection, or take you back, link back into some old 1776 days and some of them good old patriotic days. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome again to another episode with your host, the most, Heru, the modern monk, the cannabis fitness strategist. Back at it again here for you. Just touching bases with you. Having you think about some things that you may not thought about in the last 3 to 4 months. Even though we're going in the 5th month, or maybe the 6th month, or 5th month, 6th month, whatever. Still long. Out here in Hawaii, they locking us down. They just shut down the gyms, no longer available for the next couple of weeks. Therefore, I just got me a tool to take my game to the next level. They won't allow me to go to the gyms or to the parks. You know how they doing it. They trying to restrict everything. But each one teach one, the mind up. Opens up each other. Thank you again for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, tune up, and let's make it happen. Episode 5-6, Checks and Balances. What do I mean by checks and balances? Now, this is a term they use in your legalese as well, right? Finances, you may talk about checks and balances as well. But your legislative, judicial, and executive branches, they have once upon a time used to be accountable for each other's actions. But we seeing things kind of going to the loophole, or going to the, what they call it, loophole. As you may see, a loophole leaking out over here, leaking over there, taking it to the next level. Checks and balances. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, kind of paint a little picture a little bit, have you think about some things I don't think you really paid attention to when you was in school, when you was learning about U.S. history. Ooh, subject matter. Yeah. So, U.S. history, it was an interesting, to a point, subject matter, even though they applaud all the heroes of the Paul Revere. Y'all know the routine. And it's the same stories, right? It's the same stories. You might heard about Nat Turner. Sojourner Truth maybe was slapped in there every once in a while. Frederick Douglass was another one that came up all the time. But excuse the background noise. I have some fellow roommates. They're speaking a little loud today, but we're going to journey into the world of our founding fathers, or the so-called founding fathers of this nation we call United States. Now, when you look at the situation from the beginning, obviously the people was running away from England, running away from the old world, finding the new world, that they could start a new world. You know, New York was called Amsterdam, right? Is that correct, though? I mean, forgive me, not Amsterdam. Amsterdam. The New Amsterdam. That was the original name of New York. A lot of New Yorkers know this, I hope. Maybe not. If you paid attention to history. But see, these are the things I think where we start falling to the wayside, because we don't really pay attention to the makeup, or the letters in between, or the white space in between the letters, as they would say. So, checks and balances. At least back then, they had a code. If you didn't follow that code, obviously they killed your ass, right? Hence, kings, queens, knights, shining armor. That's funny. Knights in shining armor. I wonder those people, maybe they're the savior, right? The mentality of the savior. The killing of the people. Checks and balances. Now, If you didn't pay your homage or did your due diligence, they actually took you off the earth with no qualms. They set up qualms with you or a drama with you, right? Checks and balances. So the founding fathers was very interesting when you really think about these guys was basically crooks, right? They was rebellion. They was rebelling, right? They was rebelling within rebellion. They made, well, according to the history books, some of them were crooks in our today's time, and back then they wasn't crooks. Even though most of those men who signed that Declaration of Independence were killed. The story they don't tell you. You can go check this out. You can look this all up. I'm not making nothing up. You can go do your due diligence, do your own research. I'm not sitting here saying I got all the answers, but I do ask a few questions here and there. I do wake people up a little bit here and there. I do serve some value here and there. And it's not just an opinion. This is something that I think we got to dive in a little bit more and do your homework. Like everybody always telling me, oh, why you don't vote? Why you don't vote? Or you should vote. You should vote. You know why I don't vote? And I've been saying this for I don't know how long, many years now. I don't vote due to the system has been manipulated. The system is not backing that voter anymore. You feel what I'm saying? It's not supporting that voter anymore. Hence why you have these crooks in these positions. But when you look at it, they're going to put whomever they want in that office. Literally. And they will paint a picture for you that do not have checks and balances. They may claim they have checks and balances on that particular person, but they really do not know, long as they're fulfilling their agenda. Hence. 411 Calisthenic Lifestyle here for you as we are selling the sale. You ever sold the sale? Selling yourself? I'm selling myself. Because my whole goal here is to influence you, to impact you, to push your limit, to push you over the edge, or push you over the top. To think about some things. Be an example. Show the example. Be responsible. Be accountable. Take the initiative to have the checks and balances in place. Kind of like the so-called for founding fathers. Now listen to me. Hear me out. We agree that our hope. And here, let me. There ain't no hope. Nothing. Now, what we have been told, according to the story or his story, or whoever's story, her story, whoever writing in these books, pinpointing, kind of like the situation we're dealing with right now, who's writing a story about this so-called COVID or COVID-19 or the coronavirus. See what I'm saying? Who's writing these stories? What are they actually documenting out there? Even though they got documentaries and all kinds of crazy stuff out there, basically telling you the same thing that the next man did. He just presenting it in a different format. But the point is, are they really going to talk about the winners? Because all they're going to be talking about is, yeah, Jeff Bezos made it through. Walmart made it through. Home Depot made it through. Lowe's made it through. This is what they're going to be giving you on the stories. But you know the real truth. You see what I'm saying? You live the truth. That's the thing. You lived it. You experienced it. Checks and balances. Now, this is the interesting thing about George Washington. All these men, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, you know, I'm talking about all them root motherfuckers, literally, who was there from the beginning, who was actually influenced upon the thinking of this country. The Benjamin Franklins, even though he's on the $100 bill, never was a president. Okay? First and foremost, people, wake the hell up, right? He never was a president, but he was the first postmaster general of the post office system that we know have off the post office when it became public. Well, it became public, so therefore they started losing all their ground. Here's another example. That's another example right there. They became all this CEO and all this other crazy stuff, and what happened? They lost the business. They lost their mind. They lost the format. They lost the understanding of what they really was grounded in. They forgot to speak to the people. You see what I'm saying? These are things. Brothers was like, nah, I don't see what you're saying. Yes, you got to realize what we're doing in today's society. We forgetting how to communicate. We forgetting how to check and balance motherfuckers. Period. Point blank. It's too many. It's too many telltale signs. It's too much history. The story has been told, but we keep retelling the story and redoing the wrong that we did back then. So it's not getting better. We're not learning anything from our checks and balances if we want to get those checks and balances in order. See, the next big one, this is the next big depression. We know for a fact 1920s to 1930s, right in that 1925 to 1935, literally is when all the fabric of the money system changed, right? How we conducted ourselves, how credit cards was introduced, how to utilize more currency, so-called physical currency. We know you are the currency, the particular human being, right? The value. You're the value. But what creates you to become better, become more valued, right? When you're adding value. Correcto, Mondo? Checks and balances. So the forefathers, they was like, look, we're going to have to establish a foundation. We're going to have to establish some guidelines here. So they came off with the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, and many other documents that was traded among the so-called Union states, they wanted to call them back in the day. Even prior to this, because it wasn't even that many. It was 13 colonies, as they would say. The 13 colonies. Checks and balances. The one thing you got to say back then, even though the war was pretty big then, even though it was that not that many people too, that's another thing we got to think about with these particular wars. Independence War, independence. Then you had your Civil War. Then you had your World War I, World War II. That's funny how they do it like that way. When it was on the Revolutionary War, was the World War I. That was the war. You feel me? But see, this is how history get dictated by the winner, by the people who's actually scribing. See, here we go, checks and balances. When we putting people in positions that are not truly qualified for those positions, teaching your children, guiding your children, mentoring your children. I'm not saying nothing new. Those of you who tuning in right now know exactly what I'm talking about. Checks and balances. So these particular documents are very interesting. When you really start getting into them and reading them and studying and researching them, you start finding out a lot of things that was going on back then are still active pretty much right now. It's just a different format, right? A different tool, in other words. Even though I think all these documents need to be revisited, take what we can from them, ideas, concepts, and reamp or redo or renew a particular constitution for this country. Checks and balances. Now, we know this country was based on racism. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. We talked about this before. Those who, all the people who signed the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States were of Caucasian descent. Period, point blank. If you, some of these brothers might even get upset. Well, brother was there. We don't really know if that was even the truth, or they even had some. The one brother, Bonneker, he was well known for plenty of inventions. Well known for plenty of inventions back in the day. Was well known to think, according to what history has shown us, what has been said, is that the brother had interpreted or recreated the White House after the White House got burned down in the, 1822? Somewhere around there, maybe prior to that. And they ask me, they say, well, you're not in politics, you're not this, you're not that. And it's kind of funny when people talk about politics, but they really don't understand the gist, the history of what's going on prior to 1776. Prior to all the attempts to become or to create this country, and who and what and why, even though I wasn't there, so I really don't know. I'm just reading off the accounts that's been researched or written on. Kind of like the El Bible, right? The Bible, the 55 books. All these 55 books. You know how many more books it was back then? And these books were probably journals of somebody of these particular Job, John, Jason, Jibby, and Jung here. But see, this is the key. We don't question anything. We just go about what we've been told. When I was born on this plane, cars was already invented. The stove was already working. The TV was working. It was black and white, but it was working. Right? Come on, we came into this world under a facade anyway. Think about it. False events appearing real. That's what we've been coming into. Checks and balances. Y'all not ready. I'm telling you, y'all folks are not ready. Y'all not ready for it's but look, I'm here for some reason, and the reason is that whatever is inside me, I have to get it out regardless. You feel what I'm saying? Even if it's this type of format. But even when you're dialoguing with friends and family and foes and chos, it's kind of interesting how we're so sensitive. Our culture is so sensitive. Because we really haven't been utilizing the checks and balances like hip-hop used to do back in the day. See, that's hip-hop used to checks and balances. They used to, hey man, you are no good. What you doing up on the stage? You garbage. You feel me? Now these, we have been bamboozled. We've been taken out of our element. We've been taken out of our environments. Therefore, they got us. Now he's taking your air. The next minute, they're taking our water. They're going to be telling us we can't use the water. We're going to have to buy the water. Hence, where are they getting the water, people? Think. We got to start thinking. Checks and balances. The forefathers, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States. They put these documents on these pedestals, even though these were contracts between those men that signed that contract. I don't see none of the founding fathers, legacies, or daughters, great-greats, and yachts standing up for it. Even look at the politicians. Tell me one politician whose lineage is from the so-called forefathers. Can anybody explain that to me? How it just got away from these contracts? How we just kind of pushed our way outside of these contracts? Nobody wanted to abide by the rules no more. Oh, wait, they created statues. Uh-oh. Kind of like these new terms they use in rules and regulations. These are policies. We call them ordinance. Well, I can go in your house and you can go in my house, but if we found this on that side of the house, it's claimed mine for this many a days, right? Easements. We are sick, people. Checks and balances. Now, there was one founding father that was totally on a level where most of them wasn't really getting that kind of pub, right? Think about it. This dude was actually, he wrote the Declaration of Independence practically by himself. I'm throwing that out there, but I'm sure he had some consultation with the brother Benjamin Franklin, but he practically wrote most of the stuff by himself. His name was Thomas Jefferson. Now, if you didn't learn nothing in school, I'm sorry. But one of the things is they really don't give this dude as much power as he should. This dude was at the beginning of time, then he became the third president. You know that, right? He became the third president. And he was telling us he actually got this country back on track once upon a time. Because after the second president, I think it was John Adams or one of them brothers. John Adams was the ambassador of the British Empire, basically. That's basically what was going on. The empire, right? King George and all them other funny guys, and see, we don't even think about that. The situation, what was going on, because they all could have been murdered. They all shouldn't have been murdered. Literally, they all shouldn't have been hung. Treason to their country. But see, they got wise. They got away from the country, way far away. So-called, they claim that we're across the ocean. That might even be questionable, people. Uh-oh, Heru talking about the flat earth theory and all this other crazy stuff. Check it out. The map even might be represented wrong anyway. It's like you telling me what's in the air, what's past the clouds, and you don't have no idea what's past the clouds, what's past our atmosphere, Earth's atmosphere, if we know if even atmosphere out there. We talk about stars, quasars, and this and that. Even though all this stuff been going on for a few years that we know, the years that we've been here has been going the same route. The same route. Oh, that happens every 150 years, but we happen to be here for it. Everything's so predictable. But it's not predictable, our daily lives, because we're allowing somebody else to live our daily life. We're benefiting on going to a job, going somewhere outside ourselves. And not knowing what's going to happen. Literally. Our travel to that atmosphere. Environment, checks and balances. See, this is the point here where you're talking like the mentorship, some guidance, not even really the guidance, not idol worship. Let me get back. Not idol worship, not taking it all out of context or content. I don't have all the answers. And I'm not expecting you to think that I do. And vice versa. Even if I had, like, for example, Bruce Lee teaching me Jeet Kune Do, right? Teaching me Jeet Kune Do. Now think about it. The brother's cold and all that, but he's human. That's the thing. He's human. He have problems. He makes mistakes too. That's the thing I don't think we get the reality with the checks and balances. That's why we all got to be checked and we all got to have some balances. Uh-oh. And I think we can only do it so long before we get burnt out or something happens or we're just tired. You feel me? You can be positive. Look at Anthony Robbins. His voice be going out. He be done. That brother's all beat up. And he's like the motivation of all motivationers. Think about it. People they can say he crazy, this and that, or whatever the case may be. And you see how we definitely come to an end on certain things where it's not like, okay, let me chill out, let me replenish. That's what I'm doing in the next week. I'm taking a few days off of everything. I'm going to take some days off my computers and cell phones and everything else. I'm going to do a technology fast. So those of you who want to join a brother for this next coming week, thou shalt join me. I'm going to start on the 1st. Well, that week. I'm going to start that week. But I think the 3rd I'm going to start my fast, technology fast. And enjoy my days, enjoy my hours, do more writing. Checks and balances. Think about it. George Washington was in presidency for what, 9 years? I think it was 9 years he was in the office. And he probably could have been in the situation where he could have been the emperor. Because I guess he had that much publicity. He had that much power at that time to influence so many people. But think about it. They created checks and balances. They used to check each other. Keep each other on track. You had issues. You had problems. They said, let's try this democracy or republic form of government in a democracy type of process or progress. Even though it didn't work. The past, it didn't work, obviously. It worked for a few years, maybe, if you want to call it work. But it definitely was a work in progress. Checks and balances. Now, these documents are pretty powerful. Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States. You know, all them particular documents had people enslaved. Was about racism, but they was telling you it was equality. To what extent? Checks and balances. Now, and if you're getting any type of value from this, send it over to a friend, family, foe, girl, friend, whatever. Make it happen. You should be subscribing. You should subscribe to my YouTube channel, You Are the Gym. You should be subscribed to my Instagram, Heru Oman, You Are the Gym. You should be on my Facebook, You Are the Gym. We should be connecting. Even if it's on some fitness, health, something. Connecting. We could do some intellectual aspect too. Create something together. But it's all about empowerment. It's all about checks and balances. We all have to get a teacher. You see what I'm saying? We all need a teacher, period, point blank. We all need to grow. I'm going to smoke on that one as I interject here. I want to read this quote to you. This quote is very interesting. Short quote, too. It says, "You must learn from the mistakes of others. You can't possibly live long enough to make them all yourself." Sam Levinson. "I overcome all challenges when I'm good and ready." Checks and balances. Now, if you want to get deep into the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States, I do have other videos I did in my past, other audios I did in my past, that kind of breaks these particular documents down. We go into detail. My brother Nas is featured on there. Brother Dr. Moreno, my brother Sadat, my sister Nubian, my sister Reese, my brother Long, and many other ventures we had during that period of time that you can actually explore or dissect. The Constitution of the United States, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and really get in detail of what's really going on with your rights. You feel me? With your accountability, with your liberties, literally. Checks and balances. We don't check these. We don't. See, that's the one thing too. Think about it. Even in basketball, football, back in the past, when Muhammad Ali changed his name, Cassius Clay changed his name. You know what I'm saying? Changed his motto. When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar changed his motto. You see what I'm saying? We don't have that. The brothers is not standing up no more. Now, don't take me wrong. You got your boy trying to do the football thing, bending down, not knocking that, not saying it's less than that, but you got to really start putting something to make some heads shake and move. Literally, shake and move and discombobulate some shit. You feel me? Discombobulate. That's a big word for y'all brothers and sisters. Discombobulate. Life is too short, right? Go listen to that old classic song by Too Short. Life is too short. Checks and balances. We got everybody. They want to check you. That's the funny thing. People want to check you, but the people who's checking you are in the wrong industry, or they're in the wrong. They're pushing the wrong energy. Okay? They're pushing the wrong energy. Let's get it there. Checks and balances. Now, the balance aspect of it is that you're able to harmonize with the family values, with the work ethic values, with the interaction of your associates, of the methodical journey that you engage in every day. See, this is the thing too. We are in the golden age. The people who's utilizing this golden age are taking the steps, or making the steps to position themselves to receive the gratitude, receive the gifts from the universe that's really been working day in, day out, working day in, day out. We fail to realize that everything is in it. Everything has an energy frequency, right? Everything has an energy frequency. Some bounce, some don't bounce. Some come on in, some don't come on in. Some are a little lighter than others. But that's the whole point of building character, of creating checks, developing checks, or developing value within yourself. Therefore, you getting checked from higher, well, from higher valued people that want to embrace you, that want to take you up with them. Come on up, brother. Come on up, sister. We want you. You're just as powerful as we are. Fear of criticism, though. My last episode, 55. I love what Dan Kennedy said. Take ownership. Take ownership of you. Take ownership of your life. Take ownership of your spirituality, your mentality, your physicality, your healthyality. For the potentiality will be the potential of unlimited potentiality. Now I sound like Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra. The ability to win is there regardless of your status. You have the ability to reinvent yourself right now, right at this second. Boom. Baya. You are a better man. You are a better woman. It's time to embrace the good thoughts, the good ether. Take from the ether. The ether is there for your taking anyway. Right? The net Heru, as the brothers would say, the net Heru. All the gods and goddesses that is amongst you, that are within you, that have the power to do the checks and the balances for yourself as well as for others. To give in the quality, to give in the value of a better you, therefore a better them, a better outcome. My brother, I know my brother was saying I was angry. Forgive me if that came across on an anger mentality, but at the same time, one must express it some way. And I'd rather do it this way than through physicality, as they would do it within their wars and many other so-called biological warfare, as we're seeing right now as we speak. We've been given too many excuses. I've been procrastinating too many times. Checks and balances. The time is now. Right? The time is now. Not later. The time is now. What are you becoming? Build that body. Build that mind. Build that spirituality. Build that financial portfolio. And it doesn't have to be all crazy diversified and all this other crazy stuff. As long as it's bringing joy, bringing value to the world, creating a legacy. What happened to that? Why we don't talk about that much more? That's what I love about Garrett too. He talked about creating a legacy. You don't hear that within a lot of these, even with these gurus. You don't hear it about the legacy. The legacy of what time it is, literally. Creating the legacy, living the legacy, and living it, being it. That's what I do like about Master P. Once again, shout out to you for doing what you doing. Like you giving people an opportunity to get on camera to really know who these particular people were. You know what I'm saying? Like famous rappers, famous, not just rappers, but people in the neighborhood that you didn't really think was doing something, but was the fabric behind the whole movement. But see, that's where the history, that's where the story starts to really making sense. Because then you start digging more deeper in the story. And it's funny because people interpret it, you know, you go back into these old books and stuff, and people interpret it. This is their interpretation of the knowledge that they was reading about, right? So they're going to tell their side of the story. Uh-oh. That's the whole point about keep reading, get the knowledge, keep getting the knowledge, getting the new info. I don't like stem cells. I'm talking about important subject matters, not all this propaganda crap that they putting into us. Oh, we're killing kids and we're eating kids and all this other crazy shit. You know, and I'm not saying it's not being done, because I'm sure it's probably being done. We're human beings. We doing all kinds of crazy shit. I'm not putting that past our thinking. We have the ability to create whatever we want to create and make it real. You believe that? We make it real. That's the whole point of this fear of criticism, of how the mind is so powerful. They can tell you the coronavirus is in your house right now, and you flipping out because you think it is in your house right now. The more you dwell on it, what you becometh, right? As a man thinketh, so is he. Even Earl Nightingale said it too. You think about it, you're going to be it. As the mind can conceive and achieve, thou shalt receive. Y'all not ready. Thank you for tuning in this far. We hit the 41 rank, going into the 45th in the 50th minute. But you, checks and balances. Balances and checks. Think about it. Go reread. I would challenge you to go reread Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution of the United States. And really read it. And really read what the terminology meant back then, too. That's another thing. We have gotten away from the legalese. We've gotten away from the language, the roots to words, you know, where they're coming from. Why we keep calling ourselves sovereign. I'm a sovereign and all this other stuff. How it's been taken and changed to another format because you got a lot of these attorneys that are changing these policies and regulations on us. And we're wondering why we're acting with our heads cut off, like they say, sheep. We do what the sheep master, the sheep herder. That brother said the sheep herder. His name is Donald Trump. And those of you who agree with me or disagree with me, he will be back into office because they want him to clean this shit up. Let's keep it 100. Started with him, finished with him. Kind of like all history been showing with all these other presidents. But we don't pay no attention to that because we love our Bushes. We love our Clintons. And we love our Fords. But y'all not hearing me. This is what we do. And our famous one, we love our Obamas, huh? We love our Obamas. Like I said, we have forgotten the checks and balances. We left the checkbook at the house. Probably in the locker, one of the lockers, the lost locker that we haven't peeked behind in a long time. Probably fell behind the refrigerator or the ice box, as the brothers would say out here. Take you way back. Take you way back. I remember that word. I'm born and raised in Alaska. You think I don't remember that ice box? That's what we was living in. Checks and balances. Founding Fathers. Yes, go check out these documents. Read these documents for yourself. These brothers was prolific. These brothers was futuristic too. These brothers knew exactly what they wanted. The problem is they couldn't keep it in their generations. Kind of like the brother talk about in what the Rockefellers do. How the Vanderbilts couldn't keep their money. The Rockefellers kept their money all in their family and still got millions and millions of money. They donate like what, 50 million to charities each year? Just crazy money. But it shows you the mindset, even like back in the day, because that was very important to people. Creating their legacy. What happened to that? That's what this should be labeled. But we call it a checks and balances. We are, like I said, we are gone. We're out of it. We're sleeping. We're in a coma currently. And whatever they tell us we got, we have it. We're fast to go get these vaccine shots. Vaccines for stuff that shouldn't have been done years ago, people. Years ago. I love what Napoleon Hill was talking about even in the 20s when they was doing the experimentation of the flu. How they was all using all these propaganda tactics to keep the mind. To keep the mind on track, keep the mind off track, really off track. To focus on whatever's the agenda of the month. And I mean, they got it going on out here in Hawaii. They got police sirens going every day. So what is that doing to the mental? Like I said before. And we don't even question. And we sit up here and allow it to go on. Keep going on. Keep going. Keep going. Till it blows up. And then we want to question, so why was he feeling this way? We don't even know why. And this dude done blew the whole motherfucking school up. People, come on. Checks and balances. You know, our homeless even wouldn't be in this situation if we really start having our checks and balances on the correct note. Because they would know how to produce. You feel me? They would know how to produce. And we wouldn't be feeling so sorry for these people. And we have programs that really enable them, allow them to take advantage and take responsibility and take accountability for their actions to become better than they were. Then they pass. Look, you have an opportunity. It's never too late. Unless you dead and gone 6 feet under. Period. Or cremated, whatever way you want it. Checks and balances is about being a legacy. Being a living legacy. Let them talk about you right now where you can hear this, the positive affirmations. The positive energy. Not after you're dead and gone, because you probably still can hear them. And the do-what, as the brother would say, the do-what. Oh man, I'm sure they hear us. We just have broken the sound barrier. We haven't broken the sound barrier. Let me say it like that. Because we're caught up in a world, we're caught up in a world and in a physicality world, right? So we forgot about the spiritual world that we see each and every day, daily, as we go into our sleep state. This brother's nothing but a scientist. That's all. He's nothing but a scientist. That's why they call him the modern monk. Checks and balances. Checks and balances. Connect with me. I want more feedback. I would like to see more feedback on some of the subject matters that I've been tapping into I'm sure it's getting up under your skin. Because I want it to. I want you to feel that motion, feel that energy. Get more connected with you, not everybody else. You. Get connected with you, everybody else will come. Because they will navigate to that energy. Ooh, you got some good energy, brother. Ooh, you got some good energy, sister. You attracted, right? That animosity, that conformity, that negative energy, that negative mentality. It's time. It's time to shine. It's time to take back what you gave. You gave it up. You just gave it up. You're not even knowing what you gave up. You just gave it up. We don't mess with no quitters. You know, quitters never, I don't even think quitters really even existed in this mentality, this mindset. Because we're always searching for good. Ooh. Ooh. Think about it. You're always searching for that good feeling, that emotional connection. Think about that. And that's embedded, that's born, innate within you. Something that a lot of us don't think about because we're caught up in the next fad. What's the next diet I'm going to try? What's the next little candy bar I'm going to hit up? Ooh, I see Monster got a new drink out there. But then I got all this sugar habits going on. Can't lose the weight I want to. Because you're not focusing on you. Focus on you. Everything else will come. I guarantee that. And I'm out. Peace. Hotep. Much love.